So we're finally here with one of my least anticipated movies that I had. But since I like making movie reviews of either good movies and bad movies and all that, well, here I am. I came back from watching Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, a film that I was not anticipating, mostly because I have certain opinions on, Harrison Ford. Hmm. It's not that I hate the guy. It's that Harrison Ford, he is the epitome of the saying, beat up a dead horse. He is a really old man, and most of the time I feel like he doesn't want to do any more movies, but they just keep pulling him back. And just this factor alone was one of the biggest reasons why I was not anticipating this movie. But another reason that I wasn't exactly anticipating this one is that I am actually part of those people that I still think that the original trilogy of Indiana Jones are pretty much cinema treasures that it was kind of better off alone. Although I am kind of more open-minded if you could go with new adventures, but with a new actor and all that, because Indiana Jones still has some room for more adventures, but not as an old man. And I think that people wanting to watch kind of like aged version of characters and showing them, because they say that we can see them, how they have different views of maturity and new generation, all that stuff. It's kind of like overrated. But continuing on by saying with the original trilogy, I still remember them, watching them and really enjoying them. And as an unpopular opinion, I still think that Temple of Doom is fantastic. One of the few people that love Temple of Doom. Many people consider it one of the weakest, but these guys don't know nothing because Temple of Doom is that one had teeth because you see the carnage, they have kind of like memorable villains. They're evil. They kidnap children and sacrifice people. They rip hearts apart from those. And yeah, I know it has some ridiculous things, but either way, Temple of Doom, I really love it. But of course, let's also not ignore the elephant in the room, which of course comes out with the fourth film, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I only saw that movie just once in my life. And at first, I thought it was kind of like okay, just once was enough. Even though I still kind of, there were some moments in which I've been hearing all these reviewers saying that, oh my god, this one sucks here and there. I don't go exactly kind of like very harsh into it, because while Kingdom of the Crystal Skull has its problems, let's say that it has some memorable moments. I mean, say what you want with Indiana Jones hiding in a fridge in order to escape an atomic blast from an atomic bomb. Yeah, it's really, really far-fetched. But of course, let's not forget that in Temple of Doom, Indiana Jones survived a big fall from the sky with just a raft, an inflatable raft. Because probably that was the point of the Indiana Jones movies. They were basically homages to adventure serials from the 30s and the 40s, and and after that, there were some other knockoffs that they tried uh, to imitate it. For example, I saw, what was it, King Solomon Mines, which had this Indiana Jones type of character called Quartermain, and it has this problem, but it's kind of like delightfully cheesy. So back with Indiana Jones. This is now you heard my opinions about the other movies. So that kind of gives you a little bit of a introspective. What do I feel about Dial of Destiny? Apart from my whole Harrison Ford preoccupation and the whole things, I've been hearing kind of like a lot of negativity around this movie, and then when it's shown to some people, there was kind of like some mixed bag. Some people like it, some don't. There are some people that I did saw some of the reviews after watching the movie. Although I am one of those people that I don't like when a review is overly positive. Like, there is this famous guy named Chris Stuckman, and I didn't like his review of this movie because he was technically overly positive. And it's not exactly me trying to be a negative Nancy, but I just like to see perspective on both ways and not overhype a lot of things. Which kind of brings me to what is my genuine opinion with Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny now that I watched the movie. And the answer, I found this movie boring. Which is not a good sign for an Indiana Jones movie. I found it, there's some, to give to its credit, I was kind of expecting a train wreck, but it wasn't. It wasn't as bad. You could be the judge for yourself if it is as bad or better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And even right now, I'm trying to put in my head if this movie was better or worse than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. But the biggest definitive answer that I have is that despite the biggest flaws, the biggest ridiculous stuff that Kingdom of the Crystal Skull has, I'll give it credit that at least it is memorable. And because we always remember Indiana Jones hiding in the fridge and surviving the nuclear blast. It's ridiculous, but we begin to remember it. We also remember the aliens and Shia LaBeouf swinging with the monkeys, which I don't know what's the big deal with this one. I know it looks ridiculous. It looks at the CGI. I think it was a CGI. Remember, I only saw it once. But still, we for better or for worse, we remember it. Unlike the Dial of Destiny, I don't think there was something so over the top that it makes us remember. And that is a bad thing for an Indiana Jones movie, in which we kind of imagine kind of like this larger than life adventure. Even though I know that there are some people that will come out liking it. When I came out of the movie theater, I did hear kind of like a couple saying, "Hey, I like it," or something like that. What do they know? And apparently, also the old man sitting next to me, he was so enjoying the movie that he just laughed out loud in other moments. Even in the most not so laugh out loud moment, he was like, "Oh man, this guy's some with." So, is it me? Am I the problem? Is it because I'm kind of like this cynical guy who doesn't like good movies, or trying to find an excuse to find something bad on movies? I'm trying to be honest here, and in my honest opinion, while I can give some credit on some areas in this movie, I will still say that this movie was boring. So let's get started. So in this case, of course, we got the story is that Indiana Jones he's retired. He's old. He's almost divorcing his wife, and then he gets entangled in a situation where it involves an ancient dial, a dial of Archimedes, and a Greek, I think it was a Greek philosopher, in which he created this dial that apparently when you combine all the pieces, this thing can let you pinpoint the fissure between space and time, so it can be used to travel through time and do what you need to do what you do in time. So he gets entangled in this adventure, in which it involves also his goddaughter, who also wants the dial for monetary issues, and also the remnants of the Nazis, who they wanted, to use it so they can win the war and bring glory to the Nazis. That's basically the synopsis out of it. So let's get on at least with the acting at first. I already said my piece about Harrison Ford, but I will say it again. It's not that I don't like Harrison Ford. He's a good actor. In this movie, he does a great job as an actor. He is believable as an actor. You can tell that he has the experience. But in recent movies, including the Star Wars sequels, I always kind of noticed that he's always playing the same grumpy old man who apparently feels like he doesn't want to be in movies anymore. He just brought there by the paycheck, and corporate is like, hey, we all want you. Go Indiana Jones. No one can play Indiana Jones but you. Here's dance, puppet dance. It doesn't matter if you're old. He's 79 years old, and even when you see him at the Oscar, you always see him grumpy, and I'm not a fan of that. I'm the kind of guy who wants to find an actor who finds some joy on the art of acting, because you have to find some joy when you're doing your art. And when this guy, he finally kind of sees that he has found no joy in it, why should I respect that? I can't respect you as an actor if you hate it. Maybe I am wrong, but I want to go. If I was there, if I could find Harrison Ford and meet him face to face, I would like to ask him, do you really hate acting? Because you're always grumpy. You're always grumpy, almost like you don't want to be there. But still, he does his job, including his job when he's doing, because I don't believe that he's doing all the stunt works during the action scenes. They always have to do with CGI or what was the stunt doubles. And speaking of CGI, the first few minutes of the movie, it does open with younger Indiana Jones during the end of the Second World War, and they brought up the technology that to de-age Indiana Jones, and it's not exactly bad. Sometimes you notice it, but I kind of gave out the benefit of kind of ignoring the malfunctions in one way or another. Although you can notice a little bit the voice that he does sound old when he talks in this young body. But well, that's pretty much what I think about the Harrison Ford. Other actors is, of course, the character of Helena, the Indiana Jones goddaughter, played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. This character, it has its slew of controversies, considering that this character, they try so hard to make her the kind of like the new Indiana Jones, but female. But at the end of the day, she comes off as kind of like an annoying character. She has the book smarts, and she is kind of like sassy in one way or another. But unfortunately, her delivery and some of the writing with the character, it kind of makes her kind of like unlikable. First of all, she's kind of like a character who steals all the historic artifacts because she wants the money, and it shows that she also had her slew of problems here and there. They kind of also say she has kind of like a problem with some guy that she kind of dates in one way, but this kind of goes a little bit nowhere. It kind of showcases on how that she's basically this kind of like this person who kind of she's basically kind of like a gold digger of some sort. But but at least I'll give her credit that she kind of tones down a little bit, but still there's something about her that there's something unlikable and that kind of annoys you a bit, which this comes in conflict with, of course, Indiana Jones, which they try to make kind of like a conflict between kind of like a conflicting relationship between godfather and goddaughter, and unfortunately the chemistry becomes rocky, and instead of showcasing some genuine appreciation between each other, you see them that they're kind of like a little bit in odds with each other. It's to the point that you feel like they're both annoyed with each other. Oh yeah, now that I think about it, this character is a little bit heartless, of course, because people die and Indy gets in trouble with a lot of things, and she is uncaring. It's like, I don't care, not my problem. That's so how we root for a character that she kind of doesn't care, and the movie doesn't even show some redeeming quality in it, except that they try to make her a little bit more humanized, because she's always tagging along with this character played by Ethan Isidore, which is this kid named Teddy. They call him kid or child or something like that, but in my mind, he doesn't look like a child. He's not even younger than Short Round, and this kid probably really hit puberty so fast that you always not notice that he has a mustache. So during the whole movie, in my head, I call him Mustache Kid. Okay, what else? What other character do I talk about? Oh yeah, our villain, Matt Mikkelsen. He is the main villain. He is a Nazi from Germany, and he has, and the movie is kind of clever to showcase that some of the Nazis are still there, even in 1969 standards. they also had something to do with the moon landing, and he is one of them that he wants to bring the Nazis to to their former glory. So he's obsessed on finding that the dial of Archimedes in order to go back in time to fix things and bring the Nazis to victory. But most of his thing is that he's mostly a Bond villain. He's not exactly kind of like this big threatening thing, but I am no expert on James Bond movies. Some of his henchmen technically are more memorable. Like, for example, there's the big brute guy, and there's also this mustache guy who is very trigger happy. It has some he has some essence, but at least I will give him credit that he's well acted. Okay, now at this point I can give you some of the cinematography, which, well, we got John Williams score, which is always good. The action scenes do have a little bit of a mixed bag, although they're entertaining. Action scenes, whether it isn't a good movie or a bad movie, they're always entertaining, especially if that's what you're looking for. I bet that just because of the action scenes, I bet people will say that this is a good movie because because they're not just there to analyze the movie. They just want to see some explosions or cars moving or something like that. I think that the one at the beginning was pretty good. There's another one during the parade that one was also pretty good. But then it kind of begins to diminish here and there, and the other. I think that after the third one, this is where the chase scene becomes a little bit so saturated that it kind of becomes kind of like just a bore, and nothing spectacular happens, and you see all these stunt doubles or the CGI doing kind of like the brunt work, and it's kind of noticeable. It's although you can't blame it a little bit, because again, Harrison Ford is very old to do all these stuff. Although as a character who is technically that old, you can't believe on what the things that they're doing. This is the reason why I thought that maybe the movie could have worked if they could get a new actor and make Indiana Jones basically kind of like younger. I wouldn't care less about continuity and all that. Just let's try and make it kind of like an Indiana Jones that is not it's not exactly a continuity to the original trilogy, and let's try for a new actors, but keeping the character, but not the continuity, the same continuity that they had here. Sorry about that. Because of that, the movie is 2 hours 34 minutes. And this is also a big deal because that makes some of the moments feel really, really slow when they start beginning to talk about the Archimedes and the dial of Archimedes and how things work, and it gets a little bit tedious and slow, and it goes a little bit in a snail pace that you basically just get bored out of their mind. Themes about this movie is that, well, I don't know, they wanted to kind of showcase the kind of like the generational gap about between Indiana Jones and Helena. It wanted to showcase, how Indy is basically kind of like a tired man. He just wants to retire, but he doesn't want, he he doesn't want for Helena to go, to take a bad path because he kind of honored his friend who is the daughter of Helena, and also yeah thinks about moving forward because they wanted to make it in contrast with the villain that he just wants to go back and bring glory to the Nazis instead of moving forward. And this is what I get. I'm not exactly perfect about it. And that kind of leads up to the climax in the ending, in which, boy, that I have some things to talk about. But I think that I should make it a little bit of a spoiler alert because they kind of dodge a bullet in one thing, but not exactly some other stuff that it kind of made me raise my eyebrows and was like, really? Because one of the spoilery things that I talk about is that, remember that I said that Indiana Jones is kind of a little bit in the middle of a divorce with Marion that he married in the last movie. Well, you might be asking, what happened with his son? That kind of made me laugh in a bit of a cynical way, because they kill off this character by saying that he enlisted to the Vietnam War and he got killed. And I was like, dang. Is this your response for not liking Shia LaBeouf? You made this character dirty in order to have your revenge on Shia LaBeouf. Oh, and speaking of that, you know what? I'm going to give a negative right now. I also have a negative in this movie, is that the movie has no teeth. Because it wanted to make a PG-13 movie, it doesn't, some of the kills are not exactly as memorable. And like, for example, in Raiders of the Lost Ark, you're going to see a guy being spiked, having death by spikes, or their face melting, or even getting their hearts ripped out on Temple of Doom. Or let's go also further with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. You see a guy being killed by fire ants, and that's not a good way to go. This movie, nobody gets killed horribly, and that makes the movie even boring. Because it had no teeth and they wanted to make it a PG-13. You get people getting shot. There are moments that they get impaled, but I think those impalements were pretty much on the offside of the screen, so you wouldn't notice. Okay, but continuing on, during the climax of the movie, they go through this temple and they find that the Archimedes dial works, and it works because his skeleton has a watch, and so so the Nazis basically they rebuild the dial and they fly through the coordinates according to what they say, because they think that they're gonna reach what was it, their destination in 1939. But unfortunately, they go too far, and they go through time. Through the Roman and Greek battles, where Archimedes is. Then we get to cut the long story short. They had the battle. They won. The plane crashes, and at this point, Indy felt like he almost given up, and he's like, I want to stay. And I was like, where did that come from? Where did that come from? Why do you want to stay? Why? Why? I didn't get it. If someone can tell me, please, please. And of course, he gets knocked down by Helena and sent him home. And they get sent home off screen. We don't get shown how they got back. We know how they get back, but we're not shown how he got back. And of course, he patch sings with Marion, and everyone is hunky-dory. The end. So I don't know what to say about the ending, and I think that they kind of dodged the bullet in which, and there were many rumors saying that the Helena character is gonna be kind of like the next Indiana Jones, and she might inherit the hat. Luckily, they didn't do that because, again, this character was pretty unlikable to become Indiana Jones. So pretty much that's technically the spoiler section that I wanted to showcase. So there, spoiler section done. And if you didn't hear me during the spoiler section, I wanna also reiterate that for a movie that is PG-13, it doesn't have teeth like the Indiana Jones movie because it doesn't have gory kills or something like that, and that kind of makes it a lot boring. Also, there's a line in the movie that kind of bothers me, and I don't care if I spoil or something like that. That Indiana Jones kind of begins to say that, you know what, I don't believe in magical artifacts or something like that. And I was like, dude, you saw the Ark of the Covenant. You were hit by voodoo. And also you saw the Holy Grail. If that's not magic enough, then what is it? Considering that you live in a world where magic exists and with magical artifacts. So, bust off. So there, that's my review of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which it was supposed to be kind of like the big send-off to the Harrison Ford Indiana Jones movies, and it didn't feel like that. It was mostly boring. The new characters isn't memorable enough. This movie doesn't have technically not much of memorable stuff, except for probably the opening scene in which they fight on a train. The biggest thing I'm gonna remember about this movie is the guy getting smacked in the face by a train post and somehow surviving. Or not. Did he survive? It is the same characters. They just kind of, even the movie makes note of that. If you like it, okay, fine. Maybe you have some good time with it, but me trying to analyze this movie in a perspective of a moviegoer, I can see why this one has a very mixed reception. Not many people like it. I technically didn't like it. I found this movie boring. I prefer to watch the Temple of Doom again. I Raiders of the Lost Ark and also The Last Crusade. All the three original movies were pretty good. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, I only saw it once, but I'm still kind of like afraid to watch it again. Maybe that one. And if I have to analyze which one is worse, Dial of Destiny compared to Crystal Skull, at least I will say that Crystal Skull has more over the top memorable moments than Dial of Destiny. that was definitely kind of feel very toned down, and this is basically because they tried to Disneyfy the whole thing and make it more accessible to younger audiences, which is a big mistake. It is technically a big mistake, and it came out really boring, really boring, and that's not good, especially for an adventure movie like Indiana Jones.